And good morning. It is Memorial Day. It is the 31st of May, 2021. I am Jay Clifton Payne. I am now actually broadcasting live from a deep inside a undisclosed bunker. Apparently, we're working at home, and I'm trying to do some things with the home office today. I'm actually doing what I can to take the day off per se, and not going to work. But because I still have that radio broadcasting mentality, I work on days off. Every day is a day, working day. Today is no exception. Today we actually put in the work to put in this morning's 8 things to talk about to get into the day because the world is opening. Everything is back to or getting close to a normalcy, and people are going to be enjoying a holiday today. We hope that you're going to get out there and have people to see, things to do, and bump into folks, and then we'll have some things to talk about. And that's what we're doing here. So apologies for the very bad lighting and the very bad situation, the very bad setup. I'm just testing some things in the small little tiny corner of my office. So if you're popping up here and you see this live, you can do some comments for me. Let me know how well or not well I'm doing. If you're seeing this in the future, same thing applies. Comments, although I can't adjust anything in the meantime. But thank you so much for being a part of what this is. This is a movement. This is a growing movement of people who are trying to get into the news, trying to get into what's going on. I'm gonna turn this off real quick and see how dark I am. Oh yeah, that's not gonna work. So trying to get into being civil, actually wanting to be civil and actually want to have real conversations on real topics, and not just the same old topics or topics that are maybe nuts, or maybe let's say real, near and dear to people's hearts, but having a larger perspective, talking about things that aren't necessarily right around the corner. Remember, your world is larger than the 3 blocks around your neighborhood. So you have to get outside of your world, or have someone beam in something from outside that world to see how things are going. So that's what the purpose of the Conversation Project is, and you can go along with us with there. Now you'll see links inside of the description that have links to today's newsletter. You can read along with it with us now here, or you can read along with it later and get more details deeper later on. Also links to getting some merch. We've been testing out different ways to keep the lights on, even though they're pretty harsh, and keep things going. And one way is to get merch. Today I'm wearing, I'm going to stand up real quick so you can see it. Barely. This is a shirt that says "Eat, Sleep, Initiate Global Conversations Based on News Headlines. Repeat." It's been out for a while, but it's the first time getting a chance to pop it up here. So that's one shirt or design we have. I have mugs and some other things that I had sent to the house. The mugs I left at the office because they're kind of cool. So I'm having my coffee in my regular at home, really medium sized mug. Remember when I did these about 2.5 years ago, a couple Christmas ago, I got some superhero mugs on a sale after Christmas. And so those mugs were twice that size. Also, this microphone right here that's in the way. So don't, please ignore the man behind the curtain type stuff. It is going to be like that. Also, there's a design that says "Speak Up and Be Heard." I put that out I don't think I put it on t-shirts, but I did print out some masks early on, and we had some masks that we wore, the family wore around, and some friends wore around, and some supporters had as well. You can find links to pick up gear with all those things, t-shirts and mugs and caps and masks. Still, if you're unvaccinated and masks are in your wheelhouse, then go ahead for that. You can also keep up with what's going on and support the efforts by going to buymeacoffee.com. This is coffee and conversation, but you want tea, you want soda, whatever it is that gets you hydrated in the morning. Even though coffee, tea, nor soda are really good for hydration, they are water-based, though. You can help us out by buying coffees for the crew, the people that help build this thing out. There are a lot of folks around me that help me do this thing. I don't just go willy-nilly and just do random stuff, although it seems like it. There is some planning. There is some sort of semblance of work into this. Now, I've gone for 4 minutes, and I really need to work on just going into these things and going forward. So we're going to work on that as well. As I said, I spent most of the morning not so much working on the newsletter, but really putting together my very horrible blockout set, which doesn't block out much of anything, and the lighting is horrible as well. Let's go into some news stories. And I should have previously set this up, but we're going to go to the sharing of the screen thing, which is always a chore going forward. So we are now letting you read alongside with us. And this time it's a little bit bigger. I have it right here to me in a bit larger screen so I can read a little bit bigger. I'll be looking, not while I'm not looking at you, I am getting work done. So the 8 things to talk about for today, and I think I clicked out that, so I can do it. So the total, I think I'm gonna start talking about the total engagement of the top 8 stories. And top 8 stories a day's engagement for the weekends, going from Friday to Monday morning. About 37% of all the people engaged in what we talked about this weekend viewed these 8 stories, viewed one of these 8 stories. And of course, we went down to about 96 or something because of the weekend. Top story this week, oddly enough, of all the things that were really important going on, and it's usually something that just sort of catches people's attention in weird ways. Marvel bosses reportedly unhappy about viral Taiki Waititi, Tessa Thompson, and Rita Ora photos. Now, the very short version of this is some photos were going around on the Instagrams, on the social medias last week of Taiki Waititi, Tessa Thompson, and Rita Ora. There have been some reports of Waititi and Ora being engaged in engagement stuff, maybe not really engaged, but, doing stuff. And Tessa Thompson, who is a star in the movie of Thor and also Avengers Endgame and, Thor Ragnarok, taping right now for Thor Love and Rockets, playing the role of Valkyrie, and of course being extremely open about her sexuality. Apparently had a little kissing threesome while sitting out at a cafe with TT and Aura. And the Disney people and the Marvel people not so happy because that's not exactly the image they want their big stars when their big movies to put out there. Now, it's not Chris Hemsworth doing a threesome with Natalie Portman and Taiki Waititi, which might have even brought in more of a idea audience, but it is what it is. People at Marvel weren't so happy about their big producer, when they're stars, and some not so random person making out and sending those pictures around the world. They say that Waititi has been punished or has been reprimanded. We'll see what that reprimand actually means going forward. Number 2 story for today. The first story, engagement over the weekend, 77.5%. For 4.54%, jewelry store employee calls out guy who bought a ring for his girlfriend and one for his side piece. We got this from Comic Sans. This is the website that is run mostly seemingly as a joke, but maybe not quite so much. Some of these stories are pretty hard hitting, and some of these stories are pretty interesting. This one, a jewelry store owner snapped some pictures and put on her TikTok of a guy named James who came in to buy 2 rings, one for his girl and one for his side piece because she couldn't be left out. And of course, putting him on blast. The third story, a very big one and a very heart one from me. This is Mary J. Blige being inducted to the New York City's Apollo Walk of Fame. This is a very, very big honor for artists in New York, artists in Harlem, and the Walk of Fame, which is the walk right in front of the theater at the Apollo Theater. At the Apollo Theater is similar, just like the Hollywood Walk of Fame or any other Walk of Fame you think of. This, it's a symbol and a star and a piece in front of the building that shows that these people are the tops of the tops. Caught in a light hiccup burp there. So. Congratulations on Mary J. Blige, who is greatly honored by this. She recently celebrated her 50th birthday, so there's a lot of people still celebrating that as well. And they're talking about the release of her debut album, which had her big hit Real Love, which happened. I don't have that in this article, but I think it was 1992. So the odder thing about this is that means we're all getting old. 1992 is, the year I graduated from high school. So, that is what I grew up with music wise. And that means it's been a long, long time. I had a thing this weekend where I did some recording and talked about Timex Social Club and Rumors, how Rumors, that song popped up in some place and inspired, oddly enough, inspired a talk about how to do podcasts. But that song is, came out in 85. So yeah, I'm getting old. We're getting old. I'm not sure if it's together or not, but we are definitely getting up there in years. If you're joining us live, thank you so much for joining us, and thank you for dealing with us in the undisclosed bunker location. If you're joining us in the future, thank you so much as well. Let me know what you're seeing, how you're seeing it, how good it is, how not good it is. We'll work on in the future. As we said, today we are celebrating, which is not the right word to say, but we are basically commemorating and observing Memorial Day. And so I am spending the day at home with the family. We're going to get out and do some walking around and whatnot. And there'll be some grilling and some food doing and all that good stuff. But and not going into my office, which is not that much better to be honest. But we're here doing it here and fumbling through it as it is. Coming in with a engagement of 3.99%, as well as the one from Mary J. Blige. So this would have been a tie if this were the top 10 for the weekly wrap up. Hooked on a Feeling, Raindrop singer BJ Thomas dies at 78. This is another one of those things where people don't really think about folks until we hear that they're gone. BJ Thomas, he's a Grammy Award winning singer. He's saying Raindrops Keep Falling on My Head. He's saying Hooked on a Feeling, which if you remember that one, you're even older than I am at this point. These are songs that were big hits way back in the 70s. So although Raindrops Keep Falling on My Head has had a resurgence for a lot of things, including Charlie's Angel, Full Throttle, Forrest Gump, which was a Time movie, and of course Clerks 2 and Spider-Man 2. A lot for that. So songs from the 60s and 70s have popped back in vogue in late time, although now it's songs from the 70s and 80s because we're getting older. He died at the age of 78. He is survived by his wife, who is singer-songwriter Gloria Richardson, and his daughters Paige Thomas, Nora Cloud, and Aaron Moore, and grandchildren as well. So a lot of people sending out their thoughts and their prayers to the family and their remembrance of the great music by B.J. Thomas. Also did some acting roles as well, some minor acting here or there, but he did plenty to be a part of the zeitgeist that is pop culture here in the States. Coming into the story for the number 6 story this morning, I should say. 3.4% engaged on this one from CNN.com. This one got confused because on early in the week, there was a shooting in Miami. Well, left one person dead and 6 people wounded. Now, later on Saturday, there was also a shooting at a private venue that was set up as a concert where more people were killed. I got confused and thought I'd already covered it and was waiting for this to update to realize that this was a different shooting. And so this is one that happened, as I said, in Miami, where police were alerted to shots in the Wynwood neighborhood, where one person was dead, 6 were wounded in the shooting. They are looking for one vehicle in this one. This one, a Nissan Maxima Silver, that may have been involved in the shooting. The other story, which I don't have in front of me, where 3 cars rolled up at the venue. They came out, they fired off shots. At last talk, 2 people were dead, one person still in critical condition. 20 to 22 people were injured in the thing. And as of late yesterday, as I was watching news reports, there was one person or 2 people who were unaccounted for at that time, because I thought that was his story. I don't have updates on that one. We'll post something on that there. We'll see if the updates on that story will make it into the next newsletter. That's tomorrow. And the story at number 5, Greater Idaho took one step closer to being a real thing as 5 more counties voted to explore leaving liberal Oregon for conservative Idaho. I said it'd be a better read. Apparently it's not. This this one got 3.33% engagement of all the people watching, reading, doing stuff this weekend picked into this one. Greater Idaho is a thought where counties that are attached to Oregon, which happen to be a good chunk of the actual land of Oregon, even if it's not a good chunk of the actual population, want to leave Oregon and be annexed by Idaho. And some of those counties are actually voting saying, yeah, we're down with this. Let's do this. Now, this, of course, means both Oregon would have to let go of these counties and Idaho would have to take on these counties, which is saying a lot. But if it were to happen, though what would happen for Oregon, they'd lose about 21% of their state's population, but also lose about 70% of its land. That many people live in that that sparsely populated land, and because of that, they believe that all the liberal crazy stuff that happens in the big cities don't belong in their counties, and they want to go to Idaho, which seems more conservative. They grow more potatoes. I guess there may be a correlation. I don't know. Thank you for joining me for Coffee and Conversation. Taking a break for coffee because the conversation apparently isn't going so great. If you want to help support this poorly bad read and this poorly bad video, you can go to buymeacoffee.com/Jay Cleveland Payne and buy coffee for the crew. And we will help keep the very poorly lit lights on. Wrapping up today, this is a story we opened up with last week. This is a story that happened to be in the weekly wrap up, and its continuation. On last week, Naomi Osaka said she was going to skip any media appearances for the French Open because her mental health was at stake. She basically said the French media are really bad at making people feel bad in their media appearances. The media themselves are bad, but French in particular. So this is where she's making her stand, and she is not doing any media appearances. She won her first match over the weekend, and she was fined $15,000 for skipping the event for that first round match. There you go. Now, not only are the French Open saying they're going to deal with her, she may face disqualification and maybe suspension from the playing in any major tournaments because of this, as all 4 Grand Slams are basically banding together in some grand Voltron motion to stop this. Now, this is the Australian Open, the Wimbledon, and others who are saying, yeah, it's part of your thing to talk to the people when you win or lose events. That's how things happen. That's how the sponsors get stuff. That's how the news people get pieces to talk about. Of course, Osaka is standing firm in what she's doing. She wrote the check for that fine. She said she wasn't going to sit for him, and she didn't. We'll see how the French Open works out. Remember, she's only gotten past the 3rd round in the French Open anyway, so it's not one of her majors. We're going to see going forward whether this is a good thing or a bad thing, and whether more people are not going to do that, or we're going to see more people sitting down saying the very memeish, I'm only here so I don't get fined, which happens a lot in sports. And finally, an actual story that's pretty important. And so I'm glad it made it into the top 8 today. So this thing to talk about, it's world news. It's news that is closer to home, and it is Israel stuff, which ironically means a lot more to people here in the States sometimes, and sometimes people kind of take it in Israel, at least the way it's taken. Right now, Israel's moving for a coalition deal. That means they might have an actual government. What they have for their parliament, here comes a sneeze. Excuse me. What they have in their parliament is they don't have a true two-party system. They have a parliament that you can elect anybody from any party you want to represent you in your group. So this is a place where if we had a larger stake of independent voters and independent parties, there might be a Green Party or a liberal or a Libertarian Party or a rents too high party that would represent a good fair numbers. And good fair numbers doesn't necessarily mean they're running the show, but 5, 10, maybe 15% of the population would be that. Here in the States, we have about 3 different senators and representatives. Angus King and Bernie Sanders come to mind, although Bernie Sanders runs as a Democrat in the election for presidents. He actually is an independent. So is Angus King of New York. And there's one other one, I believe, I can't think off the top of my head because there's so few of them. And they caucus with the Democrats. Otherwise, they'd be sitting there by themselves. So they basically roll with the Democrats, but they are not members of the Democratic Party. Here, you can be a part of a separate other party, and you have to have a majority stake in the actual government to run things. Basically, you have the votes by being in charge. Right now, we know in our Senate, we have a 50-50 split in the Senate, so the Democrats can run things by essentially having the vice president be the tiebreaker for the Democrats. Here, you got to have enough government people and enough people on both sides and the parties to come together and make a super party to rule things. Benjamin Netanyahu has been the longest serving prime minister for Israel, because their party has mostly had the most people in charge, and they have coalitioned with enough people to basically let other folks kind of sort of ride their coattails. At this point in time, people are sort of tired of his BS and want some change. So they're allowing another person to be the head of the party. That'd be Naftali Bennett, who is working with opposition leaders to get enough people to let him be in charge so they can force Netanyahu's party from being in charge and him out of the office in particular. This is a really big thing. Israel is actually pretty complicated issue when it comes to world politics, but it's something that, because they are Jewish brethren in the Middle East, and because yes, many Middle Eastern countries and cultures want them dead just because they're Jews, and there's some weird politics and land grab stuff that's in there as well. But because they're Jews, it's a pretty heavy topic out there. This is a big deal. So we support Israel because of that. But there's also the politics of, my brother is my brother, but that doesn't keep me from, punching my brother in the nose. That just means you can't punch my brother in the nose. Israel is complicated, way too complicated for a rambling day like this. So we're going to move on with that. Those are the 8 things to talk about today. If you need to go and have some conversations with people, or if you just want to, may not be forced to, you just join with somebody and something news pops up. You can talk about the Marvel bosses not being happy with the 3-way photos, just kissing, happening fun this around the set of Thor: Love and Rockets. The jewelry store clerk who decided to out the guy who bought a ring for his girlfriend and his side piece. I don't know, just being fair, make sure everybody's covered. Also, Mary J. Blige getting a big deal. She is inducted to the New York City's Apollo Walk of Fame. Congratulations to her. Hooked on a Feeling and Raindrops keeps following my hit singer. BJ Thomas dies at age of 78. The story, the first shooting from the weekend out of Miami, not the bigger one, but the first one. 1 dead and 6 wounded in the shooting in the Wynwood community of Miami. Greater Ohio, this is where many of the counties from Oregon want to leave Oregon and become part of Ohio. Those counties are voting and saying, yeah, let's do this. All 4 Grand Slams in tennis are saying they are going to basically call Naomi Osaka on her, not her bluff, what she's really doing. And they're going to offer up disqualification for their events and maybe suspension from the tour. And Israel's moving towards a coalition government. They may have a government soon after 3 elections in 4 years to do this. And when this is all over, Netanyahu will probably not be in charge. So, sorry about that. Take time to hydrate. Always take a little time and make sure you're hydrated. Thank you so much for joining us for this conversation on Conversation Day. If you've shown up live, we appreciate you. If you're watching this in the future, let me know what you think. Comments are great. Likes, loves, hates, shares, always good because it lets us other people see what's going on, get more people in the conversations as we do this. This is a labor of love, but it is a labor. So if you want to help us with labor, support the show by going to, as you see at the bottom, buymeacoffee.com/JClevelandPayne and help support all the crew behind what's going on here. And if you want to, there are links in the actual description for merch for the Conversation Project. Check it out, see if it's any good, which we think it is, and pick up a couple pieces and wear it around and share it with folks. And if you want to send us pictures, snap pictures, or tag us on your social media of you wearing your gear, that would be awesome showing around. Till tomorrow, I'm Jay Cleveland Payne, and we'll do more of this. And we'll have it a bit more structured, more civilized, and we're getting better every single time we do this. That's basically what we're doing. So 1% improvement may not seem like much, but over time, it makes a difference. Thank you so much for joining us for the conversation and the coffee. Hopefully you enjoyed your coffee and enjoyed some conversation and the 8 Things to Talk About newsletter, which is also in the link in the description. If you're missing that every single morning, you get 8 things that people are talking about, curated by you. These are stories that we went out and put on social media and got you to engage with them. The more engagement they got, we call them the things to talk about. Top 8 stories published Monday through Friday. So you have the weekend's best stories per you. So now go out there and enjoy your Memorial Day. Get a hot dog, get a hamburger. We're grilling fish for some reason. I'm not sure why, but we're going to have a great time enjoying ourselves. The whole family's vaccinated, so we're good. All but the little one, but she doesn't. She likes wearing a mask all the time. It's a fashion thing. It's got sparkles on it, so she loves fashion. You enjoy yourself. Remember, Memorial Day is for commemorating, for celebrating those who gave all, because some give all, and then some gave all. All give some, and some gave all. These are people who did not return from the wars, the battles, the skirmishes, and people who just have passed in the past, who have served us, and not just in military ways, to say, also first responders, things like 9/11, things like that. Memorialize those who have worked to protect our freedoms, our rights, our safety. And we thank each and every one of them, and pray that their families and their legacies understand the importance of their sacrifices. And if you know a veteran, you can also thank them from the service as well. But this one's not about us because I'm a veteran. This is about those who actually paid with their lives for our freedoms. Thank you very much. We'll do this again tomorrow.